Now we're recording.
Okay.
And now that is recording. And now the cameras are recording. Okay.
Oh boy.
All right, let me fix my hair. Pull this down. Oh my gosh, my hair. Ow, ow, ow. All right.
Period.
Okay. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm very glad. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you. Okay. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of Undergrad Hour with your host Tori. And today, for our very first guest with me, I have first-time director of Underneath the Bodies, Peach Rosemary. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, of course.
So I just want to say thank you so much for being willing to share your story with me and communicating back and forth. When I first watched Underneath the Bodies, I had a lot of questions about the film itself, and I wanted to ask the director of it. I was like, I want to see what her process was and what were some of the learning curves she had to go through. Mm-hmm. So thank you so much for being willing to share your story with me. Absolutely. So I'm not sure if you guys have known, but you recently won Best Filmmaker at the Skiptown Playhouse. Absolutely. Congratulations. So you want to talk a little more about what that experience was like at Skiptown Playhouse?
Well, first time that I met Vincent, we were actually going through the process of finding a premiere spot. Mm-hmm. And I found his little building, I should say, and I was very interested in it because it really was just affordable. And he was just so kind and just so generous and was just willing to help with everything. And then he offered me, he said, hey, I'm also an owner of a film festival and it's coming up in November. I'm wondering if you wanted to submit your film and I will give it to you for free. You don't have to pay anything, just submit it. I'm like, yeah, of course, I could definitely do that. Mm-hmm. And when I went in, it was so surreal, and just seeing all of the films and everybody's talent and just being able to just get a lot of networking in, and it was just so fun because you get to meet so many different directors with so many unique mindsets and mm-hmm. how they went through their process and all of that too. And so having Underneath the Bodies shown on the very last day of the festival, which was awards night, mm-hmm. was very nerve-wracking, but also
I can imagine
very, very exciting at the same time. And everybody loved it, and so many people asked me questions about everything, and it was just so fun.
That's amazing. That's truly amazing. What was it like when you heard your name called for Best First Time Filmmaker? What was the feeling going on in your body?
I was like, he's messing with me. He's doing it because I've known him beforehand. There's no way. And then he was kind of explaining the reason why. I'm like, thank you. And it was such an honor. And like I said, for it being my first award, mm-hmm. it was so crazy. And I was truly grateful, blessed, and honored with such a lifetime-changing experience, and I'm so grateful for it.
That's amazing.
Thank you again, Vincent. Thank you.
I can imagine. So that's really great. So you knew Vincent, the guy who puts on the award show beforehand. Mm-hmm. That is really cool. Mm-hmm. When you were looking at premiere locations, were you looking at a premiere for your film specifically? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then you heard about the film fest. Mm-hmm. So did you have a premiere for Underneath the Bodies?
Yes.
You did.
It was a sold out show.
Sold out show. Amazing. And so how are you able to reach that audience of people? How are you able to bring an audience to come see your project?
I just reached out to a lot of the cast, obviously their mm-hmm. family members, any friends mm-hmm. they wanted to invite in, which mm-hmm. they did. Also reached out to my family, just kind of reached out to them saying, hey, I'm having my premiere for my film. Mm-hmm. Would you like to come down? It's here. Mm-hmm. This is how the seating is looking like and everything. Right. And they were like, yeah, I could come, or no, unfortunately I can't make it, which is, mm-hmm. It is what it is. We all have lives. Mm-hmm. And then we sooner or later just sold out the show immediately. And wow. It was so limited to 50 people, and we had everybody so crowded in, and I felt so bad, but it was such an amazing experience.
That's amazing. Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to ask, why is the film named Underneath the Bodies? So what's the meaning behind that name?
It just came up to me. It was during COVID, and I was walking because I would do daily walks to kind of help my mental strain and, just wanted to get out of the house. And actually, one of the spots that we located was shot and filmed right where I was walking. And I was like, I can imagine two girls in a forest. They're dealing with something, but I want it to be interesting and captivating for the audience to kind of lean forward and want to learn more. And then right then and there, it was Underneath the Bodies.
I see.
And I was like, that's the name. I'm not going to change it. It came to me so clearly that was the name because I just saw the dirt and it had an X on the floor.
As if digging the grave and underneath the bodies. Amazing. So you found that spot on a hike or on a walk?
Yeah.
Nice. Excellent. So do you walk around? Do you travel a lot and just go and look for locations that might give you inspiration?
Yeah, I did a lot of that with my amazing director of photography, Aaron Momoa, and Garrett as well, who was my assistant director, and we were just kind of scouting out locations. And I first scouted it online, just, because I was writing the script. I'm like, okay, I want it to be outdoorsy and a little bit of interior, but mainly outdoors, because I love everything that has to do with outdoors in films, because that's where most of the beauty comes out in film.
Exactly.
So I wanted that to be our main focus, script-wise, story-wise, and, just a girl running around in the grass, and, she's dealing with a murder, and then she's dealing with somebody in the back of her head. So I thought that was going to be the most, looking at it eye-wise, the most stunning vision. And we found the first scene, which was that hill in the grass.
Yes.
We found that. I found that online. We scouted it out, and we're like, that can work. Same thing with the park where the two girls are talking. That is actually where I found the name.
Really?
I was like right there. I'm like, that's what I want to name it.
That's the name of your film.
Yeah. And then we kind of tested the camera to see if it could work, because the inside of it was full of branches. It was kind of like a cave, but with branches.
So is that the scene where she was talking to her friend with the glasses? Okay, so that's where you found that. So you found locations on walks and hikes and just scouting on yourself, and then also online. So it's a combination of things. Okay, nice. Excellent. Very nice. So if I may ask about the film, I really loved the film. I think it was shot beautifully. The story was very captivating to me. And I ended up actually meeting and befriending one of the actors, Sarah. Yes. Yeah, she's in Scene One Film Club and everything. So shout out to Sarah.
Love you, Sarah.
Yes, so she's my assistant event planner. Yeah, so that's really cool. And I wanted to ask, how long has Amber, the main character, struggled with Hazel? A lot of questions were going into my mind, like, is this someone or something in the back of her head that she struggled with for a long time? Is it something that she was born with or created as a coping mechanism for something that happened to Amber in the past? So what can you say more about Amber and Hazel's relationship?
So with Amber, obviously the character that I play, she was dealing with a lot of mental, emotional damage I didn't really write it, unfortunately, because I'm saving it up for a future film. I'm not saying anything yet.
Absolutely. Okay.
I'm saving it up for story-wise, but she was originally built to be as a coping mechanism, yes, for depression, and just to kind of help her feel like she is noticed by people, because growing up I've dealt with a lot of bullying and childhood trauma because of that, and I wanted to incorporate that with my life, as well as something that can do with character building and relationships and stuff like that. And so I was thinking to myself, how can I do that? Well, an imaginary friend would be nice. So the meaning of the drawings goes into that. She drew this girl, like a little sketch figure of a girl. Then sooner or later, that's when Hazel was created. So she created her when she was 6. And now that she has grown up and, meeting people at school and, building a relationship with Autumn, for say,
yes,
great example, that is triggering Hazel's mentality, even though she's not really actually a person.
Becoming jealous.
Becoming jealous. And she's like, they're just going to leave you anyway. They're gonna, walk away from you in this lifetime. And that realistically happens with people. You meet people, they can come and go, or they could stay in your life forever.
Right.
And with Autumn, per se, too, she can leave and she can stay with Amber forever. But then, she ends up being murdered.
Exactly.
So she's not really gonna say, because Hazel doesn't want her to stay. That's really just threatening her.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, that's what makes the relationship so much harder. You know, and I really wanted to make that as like a mental trigger. You know, it's like,
I understand.
Really.
So you took things from your own personal life and incorporated it into your character. Excellent. Beautiful. Thank you. I wanted to ask, so I think that one of the most beautiful shots in the movie is when it's a shot of Amber, I believe, and she's running in the white dress, which was you.
Yes.
Yes, she's in the white dress and she's running through the field after just murdering Autumn, I believe. And she has blood on her hands. And that was one of the most captivating shots that I saw, not just in the film, but as well as the trailer. So I wanted to ask, what does the white dress symbolize? Because I noticed that the character Amber is only wearing the white dress whenever she's outside or in the in the fields, or whenever she's talking to Hazel in the forest, or whenever she was talking to her friend in the glasses. She always seems to wear it at certain locations. So I wanted to ask, was there a choice behind the white dress and what did that symbolize?
With that, I wanted the wardrobe to be very complex.
Okay.
And I wanted it to be simplified and not anything too flashy because with Amber, not Autumn, Amber, she's built to be very simple and very quiet. And I feel like white noise is symbolized with quietness.
Wow.
So if you use colors, it can mean something. And I'm going to explain that too with the black and the beach and everything. But with that, I wanted the wardrobe to be very simple and very easy to be able to slip on. So dresses symbolize freedom, and they symbolize freedom within a woman. That's just me and how I see women, and with, you know, feeling their true selves in that. But yeah, I wanted white to resemble freedom. And so both of the girls are both free wherever they go, wherever they are on the field or wherever they may be. But yeah, same thing with Hazel. She is a free spirit.
Yes,
and
exactly.
Amber's mind. So I also wanted her to have the same thing, and they're dressed quite the same. Have you noticed?
They are, yes. Both
They're...
Hazel is only seen wearing a white dress all the time. So,
and then now with the black too, I think that was probably going to be one of your questions.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, and then with the black, I actually just explained this to somebody else too. It's supposed to resemble Death Day. So when Amber is getting into that all black suit, she's getting ready to be disguised. She doesn't want to be seen. She doesn't want to be out there in the world. Same thing with the white dress. She wants to be seen in white, but not in black. So it's like yin and yang.
Yin and yang. Okay.
So then now you see them on the beach and you're working with them now. And then now Hazel is dressed in black. They just killed somebody that's supposed to resemble funeral.
Exactly.
Death. So that's why I had them fighting it out in those, you know, in those colors.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Let me see. So what was the overall message that you wanted to convey or shed light on in making this film? What was the message that was going on in your mind?
It was a mental health message, of course. I am a true believer in creating films for mental health and advocating that a little bit more because we don't see it in the industry. So this message specifically to women is to not feel afraid of your own self and to feel proud of yourself and to feel happy with yourself. And even though, you know, sometimes you have people come and go due to whatever it may be, that doesn't mean that it's going to symbolize you forever. And you're your own person, and you should feel proud of your own person. And so that was my message, of course. And even though you have a lot of, you know, things going on in the back of your mind, or you have that devil on the shoulder, that doesn't mean that that's really going to be your entire lifetime.
Exactly.
And I feel like our characters really struggled with that, especially Amber. Amber really struggled with the idea of figuring out who she really was and what she really knows, and she doesn't really know much because of Hazel really being in charge of her. And I really feel like sometimes we get that a lot, not only in just women but in men too, you know.
Right.
It can really happen with anyone.
So do you feel like that was a metaphor for kind of letting people control your life or letting people define who you are?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
Beautiful. Thank you. I think that's a very strong message. So what calls you, or like, what's your calling? What calls you to talk about mental health? Why is this message so important to you?
Yeah, like I said, we don't see it a lot in the industry, and when we do, it normally gets covered by sex and drugs and terrible other alternatives that we think is better for us.
Like more eye-catching.
But really, it's just not. And I've personally struggled with that too, growing up and thinking that that's the best way, but really it's not. And, you know, and yeah, I just really feel like we need more of that in the industry. And I feel like if somebody starts and it can get into a big line and it can go and be its own real thing, I guess. I don't know if that really...
It does. It makes sense.
But overall, I think it's important to get mental health stuff out there more.
Absolutely.
Especially by women, because they... Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. So I want to talk more about the film process. I have a better understanding of your story behind the film and the message you wanted to convey, but I want to talk about the process. So what were some of the things that you struggled with during the process? What did you find was different?
Oh my gosh.
Like, this is
reading my mind.
Got a whole list.
Gosh, the story itself. Sarah and I actually got together when I first came back home from Oregon.
Okay.
And I was like, I really want to meet up with you because I really want to talk about, like, film and, you know, what your ideas are because you're an actress and you do acting all the time. And so let's get together. And she's like, I'm down. We got together at Starbucks. We talked 5 hours about films and film creating and stuff like that. And she's like, what's your idea? And I said, well, I have this and that. And she's like, have you ever tried doing a short film? And I'm like, not really. I just don't see myself doing short films because they tend to be complicated and hard to fit in a story.
To fit a whole story into that time frame, right?
And I'm a writer that just writes. I don't stop writing unless if I feel it in my gut, like I can end it right here.
Right here.
Whether it's 200 pages or 500 or more.
Do you mean that with just like films or like books and novels and just everything, like just all writing? That's nice.
And so she's like, okay, well, I know some people that might be willing to take a script if you're down to write one. I'm like, yeah. Then I went through that whole process of, you know, figuring out the name and then just writing out the story. And originally the script was about 32 pages. And then, you know, I had to cut down a lot of it because it was just little small inserts and stuff like that that wasn't, you know, following up the story along, right? And so we got it down to 19 pages, which ended up being the film in 19 minutes. And I sent it to her friends. They rejected it because it had, they said it was because it was very sensitive to them.
I see.
And then it was also because there was no action. And I'm like, what are you talking about? There's a lot of action.
There's a lot of action in the film. There's a lot of action, yeah.
But I understood where they were coming from. I'm like, okay, send it to another company. Got rejected. Sent it to another company. Rejected. So it was like a whole process with that. And then I reached out to my producer, Esme.
Okay.
Because she worked a lot in, like, at Blumhouse and stuff like that.
Wow.
So she knew a lot of connections. And I reached out to her. I'm like, I really want to do a short film. Do you know anybody that would be willing to help? And she started giving me contacts.
Okay. So with this film, you wrote it and then you submitted it to different production companies. I see. So those were the people who were able to produce it, edit it, sound, all that things. Nice.
But I ended up not getting anybody for that. And then I reached out to her. She sent me a bunch of contacts and she's like, oh, this could be our AC. This could be this person and that person. And I'm like,
so this wasn't a production company. This was people just coming together to make something happen.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So it was not a production company. I have to say, for not having a production company, the cinematography was beautiful. I thought that you had like went to a company and I was like trying to look up in the description, I'm like, who was the production company? Because I want to contact them because I want my film to look like this, but it looked amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, no, Aaron, amazing. It was so funny. I saw his stuff on YouTube.
I see.
And I reached out to him on email and I was like, I love your camera work. Like, is there any way that I can meet with you? I want to do a film. And he's like, I'm so down. Send me a script. Sent him the script. He got back to me. He's like, where do you want to meet so we can have a meeting? And then we met up at a coffee shop up in PV. He was so friendly and we just kind of chatted and he wanted to get more of the inside of the story, which I had prepared. I had everything where I wanted it to be shot.
Exactly.
Here and there and the characters and the wardrobe and everything. So he really got to see everything. And he was like, okay, this is perfect. This is honestly the best script I've ever read.
Wow.
Out of all of my work that I've ever done. I'm like, that's such an honor. Thank you. And then he showed me some of his camera stuff that he had, and I'm like, okay, yeah, this is perfect. And throughout the whole process of us filming, he did borrow some equipment from a couple of friends down in LA, and so we had that. And then we just got our team together, and everything just started falling into place, and we got Sarah and everybody, and it was great.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it just all fell into place.
That looks great for not having a company, because obviously you can make short films without having a company, but just the camera quality itself looked really great.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have to check out his YouTube channel.
Yeah, he's amazing, phenomenal.
I bet he is, absolutely. So, what was a learning curve during this process? Like, what was something that you really had to kind of wrap your skills around and kind of force yourself to learn during this process, if there is one?
For sure, the fact that we were looking for interior locations, starting off with that. And, you know, you obviously in this industry, you can't get every shot that you really want envisioned, which is the part that I had to realize myself as a director. Like, I'm not going to be able to get this shot like I thought I would. So what can we do to get it kind of similar, but still make it look really good? And originally we were supposed to film in a house, but the owner didn't want that to happen. So luckily my key grip, Jesse, he said, I have this house that is being renovated and it's not being used. My parents said, we can check it out. If you like it, we'll film in there. Okay. And I said, that's perfect. Let's go check it out. It was over in Inglewood.
Oh, Inglewood. That's where I grew up.
And we started checking it out. I'm like, this can work.
This can work.
And as a skill, we filmed the 2 rooms for the girls, Autumn and Amber, in that single room. Okay. And what I had to do was tell Aaron, do you think we could fit 2 rooms in here? And he's like, well, what do you mean? And I said, what I want to do is get a piece of tape to limit ourselves. Okay. So with Autumn, I want her side to be over here, and then I want my side to be over here.
So that was 1 room. Very clever.
Very clever, so we put the tape there. I'm like, I want this wall pink. And he said, we can make that happen. So they painted the wall pink. I picked out the color and everything. I sent them the paint. They painted it in the day. And then we kind of saw like the camera angles, and we were like, this can work for 2 rooms.
Right. So just have like one camera facing her, other camera facing Hazel, I believe, or
Autumn.
Autumn. Okay, Autumn. So then what was the other room's color? So you just painted 2 different colors?
No, we actually left the other side alone because Amber, like I said, she's very simple. Very simple. Right. So she is an all-white girl. She is very quiet, so I wanted that to be her vibe. And then you have Autumn, who is a little bit more poppy and girly and wants to do her makeup and wants to look good for the guys at school or whatever, you know, those type of girls. Yeah. And so I wanted her to have an all pink room with a little nature involved and lights and mirrors and whatever she could get her hands on. And so what we did is we switched the bed over to one side. Okay. And then we switched her bed on the other side, and we just kind of decorated it. And we inverted the blankets to the other side so it could be a different type of bed, like a different color, different vibe. So I'm like, this can honestly work. I'm like a genius. Like I thought of it. Like, that's so crazy.
That could work, exactly. That's amazing that you thought of that. I think that was very creative, and it also cuts down on a lot of cost, because you can turn a whole room into a half room. It doesn't have to be the full room for the shot. So that's very creative, and hats off to you for that.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. What is something, so seeing as how this is your first self-produced film, what's something new that you learned about yourself and filmmaking?
That I can do it. For sure, I can do it.
That you have the capabilities to do it.
For sure. And that, you know, for it being my first script, like, I now have the capability of writing more shorts. And so I have a lot more confidence. Like, okay, the first one turned out really good. What can I do to make the next one better? So that was definitely, like, I gave myself a little bit of props for that. Like, I did it.
As you should. That's amazing. That is amazing. I would say, during the process, were there any other pivotal moments in the timeline of creating this film that you were really doubting yourself, that you were really struggling and thought, like, oh, maybe this wasn't worth it. Maybe I can't do it. Maybe I should just give up on the script. Were you ever having those moments, and how did you combat that?
Yeah, oh my God, all the time I was having that problem, especially with, it was weird. It had to do a lot with the catering.
Really?
It had to do a lot with the catering.
catering.
Like, I can't even feed my crew.
I see.
Like, how am I going to be like a real director if I can't even provide whatever I need for the crew?
Mm-hmm.
And we luckily were able to get some food, and we did work it out, but Aaron was like, we got to make sure that we have that prepared
yes,
next
absolutely.
time.
Gotta
We got to
have
make
food.
sure, and that was giving me a lot of doubt, like, maybe I shouldn't even really be doing this. Maybe I should just stick to writing and have someone else do the directing because they have more experience than I do.
Mm-hmm.
So, that was such a challenge. And then, filming out with, everybody just being there out in the open and stuff like that. I'm like, we're not going to be able to get this in on time. It's not going to look good because there's people there. Everything is so distracting.
Right.
So that was also another one. But I kept my cool, and and I had a lot of support, and Kyle, which was one of my, I miss you, Kyle. He was definitely like the angel on my shoulder, just saying like, you got this. This story is so fun, and just being on set with people around my age, and just being teenagers and just being young adults and just having fun.
As you should, exactly.
Is exactly what every set needs to be like.
Having fun making a film because you're all collaborating, doing something that you love. So it should be fun.
And it was definitely, especially with the Anna, love Anna. She's so sweet. She played Autumn, and she was like, that was definitely like my favorite scene, just being on the picnic where we were all just laughing and having a good time. We made so many bloopers.
Yeah, I did see the blooper reel.
That was just, having that energy on a set, because with the industry and how strict it is and how everything is about work, just having everybody just be chill and not being super stressed about it was so relieving to me, because I know that they're enjoying themselves, and I know that this is going to be something that they're going to remember for the rest of their lives. So if I can be able to be part of that process for them, then it's all worth it.
That's amazing. Beautiful. Do you feel like things get done better when people are enjoying themselves making the process? Would you say that?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Definitely.
That's amazing. Let me see. So will you produce another film again? What can we see next? What can we expect from Peach Rosemary next after Underneath the Bodies?
Oh, it was so crazy. I have so many festivals. We actually just got invited to 4 film festivals.
Wow.
One from Tokyo.
Wow.
One from Rome.
Okay.
One from New York. And it's a tri-state festival.
Tri-state.
So they really liked how the script was written. It's a screenplay competition.
Oh, screenplay competition. So not like the actual film, the script.
Yeah, so they reached out to me, and then I think there was another one, but I can't remember at the top of my head. I'm not forgetting, y'all. I just can't remember because there's been so many festivals reaching out. But I do have some stuff that I am producing.
Excellent.
And we're starting in 2 weeks.
2 weeks for another film? Yes. Oh my gosh, when can we look forward to it?
Oh my god, maybe at the end of the year. It depends on how the director is. I don't know. But
are you going to be directing this one again?
No, I'm just producing.
Just producing.
I'm an associate producer for this one.
Associate producer for this one. Nice. So is this another one of your stories that you're writing?
No,
so you're helping out with someone
his.
else's. Okay. Nice. That's exciting stuff.
Yeah, and then sooner after his stuff gets done, we will be continuing the next saga of my other scripts.
Okay.
So we should be expecting another film from me probably at the end of the year.
Okay, absolutely.
Maybe.
Well, thank you. We know to look forward to that. I'm going to be keeping tabs on that. So in closing, is there any advice that you have for people who are maybe having trouble knowing how to start their film or start their first short film? Like, what's your message to creative people out there? Any advice do you have?
My only advice is to take one day at a time, obviously, and everything will just fall into place. If you're really passionate about it, you'll go for it, and if you really know, like as a screenwriter, I'm saying it as a screenwriter and just for anybody, if you know in your heart that it is something that is really, really meaningful to you, and you know that it's going to impact others, that tells us that you have a good story. Absolutely. And that it's really going to change somebody's life.
Absolutely. What would you say, what's some advice you have on like how to keep that momentum going? Because I feel like as creative people, we get so bogged down during the process, where we have so many ideas, we have so many things we want to share. And then when it gets time to actually making it, you have to go through all these steps and this process. And then to have this finished product sometimes seems like it's never going to happen. Like you can never see the light at the end of the road. So what's some advice you have for any creative people? Like, how do you keep going? Even when things are not working out or it's taking longer than you expected and it's not getting as done as fast as you wanted to, how do you keep going?
Like I said, you just take your time. And if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry to get a little religious. Sorry. This is just how my process was.
That's okay.
I went to my church, in which I do some production stuff over there as well. So I am involving myself in serving for the production team over there. Mm-hmm. Very grateful to everybody who has been supportive over there as well. Mm-hmm. They really gave me the momentum to give it all to God. And like I said, I'm not trying to be religious. It's
right. Well,
just
it's what works for you. Yeah, exactly.
To give my issues with what I'm having over to the Lord. And if the Lord will take care of it, then it's really meant to be. And he knows that you have something going.
Exactly.
And my Pastor Ruben, it was when I was first starting and going in and really becoming Christian again. Mm-hmm. He just kind of told me about something like giving your tithes and just, stepping into faith and just giving everything that you have with him, your dreams, your goals, just everything. Mm-hmm. And so I started praying, and that's when everything just started falling into place for me. Mm-hmm. And so I would just start praying and just taking a deep breath and just saying, okay, I got this. Mm-hmm. It'll fall into place eventually, but that doesn't mean that I should give up.
Exactly.
And I should keep going and just keep writing ideas down. And if you know that it's going to be something good, and you keep going and you keep pushing.
That's amazing. Absolutely love that. Is there anyone that you would recommend to this show, as this is the first episode and it's just starting? Is there anyone you would recommend?
Sarah Hainish, come talk about your acting process and how you're in the theater, just very talented. And same with Kyle Stan. He's had a lot of experience and he's phenomenal as well. Mm-hmm. And Davin Nijin, yes, he's so creative. He's actually working with me on these next projects we're having.
Okay, absolutely.
He's like one of the most intense but so passionate about filmmaking. So yeah,
absolutely. Thank you. Well, that concludes the end of our interview. That concludes the end of the first episode of Undergrad Hour. Peach Rosemary, thank you so much for wanting to do this. Thank you so much for taking the time to come out and talk to me, to speak about your film process as well as some of the hurdles you had. I wish you the best in all your future film projects, and I can't wait to see more from you next. Thank you so much. Woo! Yay! First episode. Oh my gosh. Okay. Wow. That's I'm like, okay, now the scary part. I check and make sure.
Was it all muted? No.
No. Okay, so 33 minutes. All right.